Judge Gregory at Precinct 4. I don't know if Judge Kim is going to be here for 323rd.
Got a newbie. Clerk will call the roll. Here. Present.
Devin Allen, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Tigas, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here. Take it away, Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of the court. Well, it's that time of year again, and so we're going to begin our budget hearings. Just a note or two. As you know, this is not going to be the last time that we'll be talking about the FY22 budget. This is actually the first of several meetings that we're going to have. Once we complete today's meetings, and we also have this scheduled for tomorrow. Also, we have any carryover after Commissioner's Court, or as part of Commissioner's Court. We will continue to have the budget-related issues on the agenda until September, whenever we actually pass the budget itself. So this is the beginning, and we're going to do a lot of things that that we did in the past. And you might remember that we have really preliminary votes on different departments. And if you look at a budget and you believe that that's the budget you want to move forward with, a vote of yes. If there's no further considerations on any particular item within a budget, well, then the vote would be no. And then finally, if there's items that you need more information on or need a little more time to think about, then we will have a to be continued or to be considered vote, which is a TBC. Same thing that we've done in the last years also, but that will be something that we will use today and also tomorrow and in the future budget hearings that we have as related to our normal court meetings. Also, we're starting a little bit later than we normally do. We normally start at 9 o'clock, and so today we are going to have lunch for you, and we will have it set up in 503. It's just sandwich platters and things such as that. Judge, you might want to think about a break, maybe at 12:30, somewhere where you all feel comfortable to have a break in the agenda, and we'll take about 45 minutes and have lunch and then come back and finish today's work. So with that, I'd like to talk a little bit. Well, I can get past that. There we go. There. Okay. So we're in interesting times. We thought we were coming out of a coronavirus issue that has pretty much kept a lot of us indoors or working from home for the last 18 months. Obviously, that issue is resurging again, and it's something that we will be moving forward in for a while. However, when we look at the economy of the county, we see that our economy is very robust. It's very strong. I think when you look at the net taxable value, and these numbers are going to change a little bit as we work through some other issues with TAD, but you can see that our values have increased. They've increased about 6.7%, comparing the July 2020 rate to or values to the July 21 values. And so as you see, we continue to grow, even if we have to overcome some difficulties. We also have something that has not grown, and that is, and I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody on the court or anybody in the community, that the value that we have on mineral leases have been something that have diminished. Back in 2011, we actually had about $4.3 billion of value in minerals. The values for 2021, which is the tax year that we're looking at moving forward, we have $563 million. So it has diminished significantly, and it'll probably go down even more as we go through the various years. It has pretty much decreased every year, and we took a really big decrease back in 2016, and so that's why we have such a decreased amount as it relates to mineral values. So when you look at the county tax rate, you can tell that over the last 3 years, or since the last 10 years, we have decreased the tax rate for the county. Commissioners Court has, and this tax or this budget that we're going to be presenting to you today actually reflects an additional decrease in the property tax rate. Last year, our tax rate was 0.234 per $100 or $100 valuation. In the proposed budget, we have pushed that down by a half a cent to 0.229, which represents a 2.1% decrease in the tax rate. If you look at what's happened over the last, if the court approves this, if you look at what's happened over the last 10 years, out of those 10 years, we will have reduced the tax rate 4 of those 10 years. And collectively, what we've done over the last 10 years, we have decreased the tax rate by almost 15%. And so that's a sign of many different things. One is a healthy AV value, but it also is something that is reflective of what this court has done and what our county does. And that's, we budget for those things that we need, not necessarily what we want. And we try to be as efficient as we possibly can. And the net result of that is a decrease in the tax rate. So when you compare us to the other big counties, you'll see that even before we move into a decrease in the tax rate, that out of the 6 big counties in Texas, that Tarrant County has the lowest tax rate of the big 6. It's a position that we've held in the past, and we hope to hold that in the future. So when we look at new construction values, new construction has gone down, and it's gone down. We were climbing really well, but we still have over $4 billion of new construction, new value-added construction to our rolls, which is a very healthy growth. It tells us several things. It tells us that the commercial properties continue to grow in value, and we have buildings dealing with commercial properties. The values of homes, residences, have gone up also. And I know that some people say, well, my house has gone up too much. The deal is that our environment is changing, and basically the need for housing is one thing that has overcome the people that want to sell their homes, and that is a supply and demand issue. And that's what causes home values to go up. So when you look at the average value or the value of an average home, what we found was that in last year, our average home value was about $222,786. It has gone up to $238,312. And as I said, this is a sign of people moving to our community, and then also the additional costs of building new homes and the values of the homes themselves. So we're going to move into the tax rate issue as it relates to the home, to residential. So the average home value is $238,312. And with the recommended tax rate, the taxes on the new value of homes would be $545, and that represents about a $24 a year increase or $2 a month increase in the tax rate. If you compare that to the current tax rate that people paid on homes at the $222,000 level, then that actually results in a decrease of a certain amount in those. But when you look at the new values, there is a slight increase But it is $24, and that represents basically $2 a month. So we're going to now go through different presentations as we have in the past. We're going to ask the auditor to come up and talk about revenues. And then once the auditor has concluded, we're going to ask the budget director to come forward and present an overall view of the FY22 budget.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As Mr. Manius pointed out, it was an interesting year to estimate revenues because last year was not normal, and at this point it doesn't look like the current year or the future year will be normal as we defined it pre-COVID. Just a quick reminder that we do speak with each and every department. We work with them to make sure we understand what they see going on with their revenues, and we make it a collaborative effort. We have been conservative, as always, but there is revenue is outlined, and we'll walk through that. So we have a new clicker since the last time I was up here. Wrong way.
So just push that middle one.
Middle one? There we go. Okay. All right. So I've always felt like these were out of order because we talk about all the changes in these lines on a slide that's two back. But again, what we're comparing here for revenue estimation purposes is last year's 21 budget compared to this year's estimated for what we propose for the budget for 22, and then what we're actually projecting that we collect figures in cash carry forward as far as whether we over collect revenue or an underspend, which we'll talk about that when we get to the cash carry forward. So really and truly, the budget to budget is what we're looking at. So if you just looked at licenses, you can see that they're budgeted pretty flat, even though the actual what we think we collect this year will be less, but they're still budgeted flat. So I'm going to move ahead. I'm going to comment on one other line item on here that's confusing to most people, myself included in the beginning, is when you see all others, we will talk about what's in that, but particularly what makes that look different from the $5 million for both last year's estimate and this year's projection is contingent revenue, and we budget contingent revenue so that if we do have more revenue during the year, we can use that revenue because it had to have been budgeted for the court to have advantage and be able to use it. In 21, we budgeted $10 million as an estimate, which we actually then did bring into the budget, so therefore it's no longer in that line item. And in the 22 estimated budget, we have budgeted $20 million in contingent revenue. So if you take the contingent revenue for 22 out, you're still looking at all other revenue sources of $5 million, basically to $5 million.
Renee, before you click,
Yes.
the fee of office,
We have a detail of that on the slides coming up, but
okay?
so I'm going to move on to the contingent revenue slide so you can see what I was talking about. So the budget that was adopted had the 10. The current budget, it's not because it was actually recognized. But in 22, we have contingent revenue of the $20 million. And then for the major changes in revenue, and a number of those are fees of office. So the first one is Motor Vehicle Collection Commission. That number is being estimated to be less, particularly because the law that was passed this past session that related to the ability for people to take care of their motor vehicle registrations in any county of choice. And so working with the tax assessor, we felt comfortable in lowering that number. Constable fees, there were less papers, less process, obviously with the shutdown and the closure of different things, the rent moratorium, et cetera, so that number was down. People, I guess, were optimistic about being able to travel, though, because passports were up significantly. Hopefully we'll all get to go somewhere and use our passports. As Mr. Manius referenced, the real estate, those fees were for warranty deeds and deeds of trust, obviously were up significantly. So all of those items are related to fees of office. And those are your major changes that we identified in fees of office.
Jail psych,
That is related to actually, there was more, it's intergovernmental revenue, but that was actually more, we missed that estimate. Same as with liquor by the drink. We missed both of those. So those are both up this year significantly because we missed our estimates last year and we collected.
So the jail psych, the 1.8, these are the 22 estimates, right?
Yes, sir. Compared to the 22 estimates, yes. So the revenue estimated for this year is up by those amounts because in cash carry forward, we overcollected for those line items based on what we projected last year.
Okay, I was just going to ask if this money is coming straight from JPS, has JPS's board looked at that, and are they aware that they're going to be giving us 1.8 million more?
That's the MHMR contract.
Pardon?
It's,
That's the MHMR contract, I'm sorry. It says JPS, but
Well, what happens is
it's through
JPS
MHMR, right?
pays,
Yeah, right.
but I guess my
So
question
his question is,
is,
have they been taught to?
is-
Megan?
I don't know that it's gone through there yet, but I'll find out for you. They were aware of the increase.
So,
but they were, and that's my point. I mean, when it comes right down to it, my point is we call them and tell them, oh, by the way, increase your check by 1.8, and we don't ask their board to have any input in it, it's just write us a bigger check.
They were the discussions last year when we increased initially for 21. They knew that it was also going to increase in 22 because it was only a partial contract.
Well, I understand, but the finance chair is saying it would be nice if we were a little bit more participatory before we get a call that says write a $1.8 million increase check.
so there was an email that went out to JPS about a week ago that gave them this increase in number. And
My
I understand
point
what you're saying,
exactly.
I just wanted you to know
My
that.
point exactly. We sent them an email, increase your budget by 1.8. They're in the middle of their budgetary process. It'd be like somebody sending us a little email telling you, oh, by the way, go ahead and include 2 million more for this item in your budget. At least I guess it wasn't this morning when you
No,
couldn't
sir.
present a balanced budget.
Okay. The other items on that sheet are sales tax collection, which actuals, again, were just up. There was more revenue related to vehicles being sold. Motor vehicle, road and bridge fee, that also is up because of what was actually collected, again, related to the license registration and the $10. And then, as I mentioned, liquor by the drink was up.
So COVID caused everybody to drink more.
You could look at it that people were certainly applying for more permits and drinking more, yes. And then finally, the cash carry forward that I mentioned briefly, the fact that we, in the general fund, we did over-collect revenues. Our estimate for cash carry forward was approximately $10 million short. And then related to 21, we over-collected in the budget the $8 million in the intergovernmental revenue that we just talked about. We also had the fees of office that was about $8.5 million over-collected. And then actually in the tax line item, it was $9.8 million. The rest of it, for the most part, is made up of areas where we underspent and the amount that we had in budgeted in reserves, which gives us an estimated cash carry forward in the general fund of the $143 million.
So that's what we're estimating to have on hand at the end, September 30th, 2021, to move into 2022.
Yes.
that does include all of our reserves also, doesn't it?
Yes, it includes the reserves, as I mentioned, yes. The $72 million is in reserves, is included in that. And then you have the other cash carry forwards that are a little bit more in line. So with that said, again, it was a difficult year. I appreciate all the hard work of the folks in my office and certainly all the other departments. The tax office we worked obviously with extensively because the truth in taxation and all of the changes related to the 3.5% that were fully in effect for this year. There were so many things that you had to stop and say, what does this really require us to include in the forms? What should we include in revenue? There was so much uncertainty, again, in our calculation that was increased due to the changes in the law, et cetera. But we feel comfortable with what we have for what we can do today, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Renee, I know that, you talked about the fact that it was reserves, and I guess our policy says that in the first quarter of next year, you will bring back to us the reserves in each account, and then recommendations as to whether or not there should be changes.
The policy does speak to the fact that the auditor on an annual basis will bring that forward. What I can say is I've not, to my knowledge, ever been back before this body, but there's plenty of discussions that take place with various parties of interest, be it the administrator's office, the budget office, certainly related to the healthcare reserves through the rate setting meetings, et cetera. If we had felt that there was a need for a major change in a reserve, we would have brought it back. If you actually want me just to come up here on an annual basis and open the discussion, I'd be happy to do that too, but we tend to only bring things that we feel are pressing issues for the court to consider, but I'm always willing to do that, and if we need to bring it back on an annual basis, or if there's discussion particularly you want to have in the future, we can do that as well.
Well, I think I would like for you to bring it back on an annual basis, especially, and I know in the past, we've had reasons for not wanting to look at the health, not that we weren't looking at it.
Right, we were looking at it.
There were things that were unsure at the time that we weren't willing to make changes, but I think we've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 35 million, and our reserve formula probably says we ought to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 18 million. So, and so I guess to that end, if we do that on an annual basis, we do that in the first quarter, then we just simply set the reserves, because those reserves are in our cash carry forward. It would be, I guess, we would just move any excess to an unrestricted reserve, or that could be part of that 20 million that's setting in revenue that we could then later determine to spend.
Right, it would have to be in the 20 million, or you just simply move it out of healthcare and have it be in a separate
Cash carry
undesignated.
forward, yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts on revenues? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
Now, wait a minute, I'm going to go back, I'm going to stop us. We said we were going, is the decrease in fees,
We had constable fees in particular, that was a decrease, everything, and then the motor vehicle collections were the two decreases in fees. That were significant.
but our fees are going down by almost $5 million, and that accounts to only 1.1. So why would we have such a decrease? I mean, I would have thought
Part of
like,
that is we're not projecting the same increase maybe for warranty deeds and deeds of trust and passport. So again, it's from budget to budget. We projected the 69.9 last year to 77. But no, we're not projecting that we're going to collect the same amount in 22 as 21, because we're not riding that same wave of potentially some of those items. And we can go through the individual items that drove that, but there are several, so.
and I guess I want to be sure the fees of office would not include anything that the courts are doing. That would be in the fines area.
For the most part, yes, sir, that's correct.
And then in the fines area, we still see that down, and I would have thought through most of 21, the courts were closed. And now if they're opening back up in 22, I would have thought the number would have been much higher.
We tended to be conservative or flat, because yes, the courts are supposed to open back up, but when and what that actually looks like based on COVID and the restrictions that we may have to encounter. I will tell you again, it was flat in most instances, unless there was something clearly that you could bank almost that you could expect an increase. So
Okay.
we did not increase that line item.
So I know I'm still confused, and you may have just said it and I just didn't hear it. Where are the fees of office down besides in the motor vehicles and the constable fees?
Those were the only ones that were lighter than $500,000, because we used 500,000 as our cutoff. We have a spreadsheet that clearly compares them for all of them, and if you like, I can make certain that you get another copy of that, and I'd be happy to address in general, but fees of office takes up almost 2.5 to 3 pages. And so there's a lot of JP courts and not JP courts, not here, but a lot of other miscellaneous areas where we're not projecting an increase.
But passport fees and real estate fees would also be included in that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do I have the 2.5 pages of fees in my
We did
stuff?
send
In
this-
the back of,
It's in the back, so it's back in the back, very back.
Yes.
What page is that on, Laura?
It starts on page 276.
Thank you.
so on yours, actually, it's, on your.
On my
that you
worksheet?
have, it's a tab, it's called, the labeled revenues.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. So Candace is going to be making the presentation, as she did last year and as she will next year. But any questions that you have, I will be answering, and Candace will also be answering.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Okay, let me get the clicker. Okay. So in regards to the proposed budget and significant changes, in the capital fund, you will see 59, or the capital transfer, you'll see $59.5 million. A portion of that, 44.5, is related to the recommendations based on the requested capital we received from the departments. The remaining balance of $15 million is allocated for the newly created Capital Replacement Fund. This fund will allow the county to better plan for long-term capital needs. Items that could be included could be vehicles, generators, or HVACs. You will see that actual replacement fund in the special purpose budgets that will be brought to you in late September. There is a reduction in the road and bridge transfer of approximately $446,000. This budget also includes 58.5 new positions and also merit structure and step increases for a total of approximately $18.8 million. Reserves have increased by 13% for a total of $73.6 million when compared to last year. And finally, $8.3 million is allocated for new programming, specifically for the creation of the 485th District Court and the programmatic needs for the medical examiner's office.
16.
During this year's planning cycle, the Budget and Risk Management Office, or as we call it, BRIM, received 254 requests for new positions. We first looked to see if any requests could be funded through ARPA. We identified 80 positions, and we presented those to you all last week for your approval. As we continue to scrutinize the list, as I said before, we recommended 58.5. Of those, 19.5 are related to increased workload. The remaining 39 are related to new programs, including, again, the creation of the 485th court, not only the staffing needs for the actual court, but for the criminal district attorney's office, the district clerk's office, and the sheriff's office. We also have listed the medical examiner, the deputy medical examiner, and staffing needs related to the expansion of the juvenile facility for the juvenile department, facilities management, and the sheriff's office. The remaining positions are related to the SO's office for tech share jail implementation and management of that project. As Renee said earlier, the cash carry forward balance is approximately $143.3 million. Staff is recommending that that balance be used to fund the reserves, capital, the replacement fund, and undesignated. There is a small balance of $357,000 that will be funded through operating funds. The proposed budget includes a 3% merit increase for all non-law enforcement employees. It also includes the structure and step increases recommended by Korn Ferry for a total for the general fund and road and bridge of $12.5 million.
Does this also include what we did a couple of weeks ago where we basically did away with 51, grade 51?
To the 52s. This is not included in that dollar amount. I believe it's 3.6, but that is included in the actual budget. So that 12.5 does not reflect that 3.6 to move all 51s to 52s.
Okay.
Okay.
And we did that because that action was actually taken in FY '21, and so it was embedded into the budget moving forward.
Okay.
All right. And as Mr. Manius indicated earlier, the proposed budget is based on a .229 tax rate, which is a half-cent less than our current rate. It's important to note that this rate is below the no new revenue rate as well as the voter approval tax rate. And we always like to show the court the original capital request ask, which was $85.6 million this year. Again, we vetted the list to see what could be covered through ARPA funding. We identified $37.5 million, which we presented to you all last week. And we are recommending that $44.5 of that be included in the operating fund. And lastly, we always strive to present a balanced budget to you all, so the proposed appropriations match the revenue. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Manius.
Are there any questions to the budget or anyone before we start moving forward? Okay. If not, well, then we will begin to move forward, and what we will do, we'll call the departments up to see if they have any comments. If there's not going to be, if they're satisfied, well, then Helen will go ahead and make that statement, and then we'll do a quick vote on that. So with that, we're going to start with the Sheriff's Department.
I need yes, okay.
Morning, Commissioners and Judge, and here we are again, and thank you all for being here and what you're doing. I only got a couple of things this year. One, I want to say that after some tough negotiations, that GK and Helen and their team did an incredible job. They worked very, very hard and long into the evening, and they just simply got it done on short notice, I may say. The second thing I have for you guys is a little bit of history. Is the Sheriff's Department is good to go with budget presented to you. I have nothing else, sir.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
We are very appreciative. Thank you, Sheriff.
No, thank you all, and I appreciate it.
With that being said, there are some, you have a sheet that has adjustments on there, and there were a couple of adjustments that we did make in the 9th hour negotiations between the Sheriff's Office and the Budget Office, and that's reflected on your sheet. Yes.
So the vote would be to accept the budget with those additions.
So these adjustments are saying what?
So there is a $16,100 for a LEAP trailer for their horses. And in addition to that, there are changes in confinement and in patrol on their safety tactical.
Thank you, Helen.
Yes, sir.
So we could do a quick vote.
I move approval. Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Next up are the
Wait a
comments.
minute. Whoop.
Oops, sorry.
Commissioner Johnson?
Sorry.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So as we move to the constables, all 8 constables have indicated that they are satisfied with the budget as presented by the Budget Office.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So next one would be the medical examiner's office. And the medical examiner's office has said that they are satisfied with the budget.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So the fire marshal is up next. Mr. Renoir has indicated that he is satisfied with the budget as presented.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So the next one is going to be CSCD. They are not satisfied with their budget. I believe Judge Neekum, is she here? Here we go.
Good morning, Judge Whitling, Commissioners, Leighton Isles. And I first want to say we're very pleased with the Budget Office in terms of our pretrial population and working with us. We've doubled our population, and we're very appreciative of that work. The one issue that we did ask for, and Judge Deborah Neekum is here to address the court in the general revenue part, is funding for a post-adjudication DWI court officer. The history behind that, very, very briefly, is that this was a governor's office grant, and the county had picked this up through some special funding up until this last year. There was some concern that changes in the state court costs would not support the program that's dedicated revenue for that purpose. Because the county helped the CSCD out with CARES Act funding, talked with Helen in budget, and we were able to pick that position up for this current budget year. Unfortunately, the CSCD, as we know, the state has not kept up with the cost of living. We're actually taking a decrease in revenue this next year. We're in a very similar position that the Sheriff's Department is in terms of recruitment. And my recommendation next week in our state budget is to reduce 25 positions on our state side so that we can provide some increase to continue to retain and attract new staff. So with that, that's our state side, is we're very much struggling. And so I wanted to let Judge Neekum explain the program real quickly, and we request that this position be funded. And as I understand it, we may have worked out a way to do that through the special dedicated funding that is available. So I don't know if Helen wants to address
So, yes, that is correct. We've worked out 1 year. This is a post-adjudication position, so it is a probation officer. And Judge Neekum, it's in Judge Neekum's court with her DWI cases, and she can present the program to you.
Good morning, almost afternoon. Thank you for having me. This is a post-adjudication DWI court, and we deal with high-risk, high-need drunk drivers. My hope is to prevent them from killing people. For instance, I have a young woman in my court right now who has 4 DWI over 0.15s. She has the highest blood alcohol level in one of her cases that I have ever run across. And I've been practicing for 32 years. I'm going to lose this because it's hard. Her blood alcohol in one of her cases was 0.5. That is a lethal level of alcohol for most human beings. But this young woman would tell you, I drank all day, every day. She drove her Jeep into Lake Arlington in one of her cases. She is now sober, Commissioners, because she has been in my program. Now, it took 3 rehabs in my program to get her this way. And I can't promise you she's going to stay that way, but it's my hope that she will. This is her longest period of sobriety in her entire adult life. I've had other folks that haven't been quite as bad as this young woman, but I've had other folks in my program that are hardcore alcoholics. And it is my hope that this program will get them sober and keep them sober before they kill someone or before they commit that felony DWI with a child in their vehicle or that felony manslaughter DWI. So we've been working since 2015? 2016, forgive me, my time runs together. We meet twice a month on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. The staffing begins at 12:30. I have a very small but very dedicated team, and we work very hard. And I'm very dedicated to the drug court model, and it is a non-adversarial program, and we keep it as lean as we can. But I'm very dedicated to this and to keeping folks sober if at all possible. I don't discriminate. If they're on drugs and driving, I bring them in and get them sober off drugs. Sadly, I lost a 20-year-old not too long ago to a fentanyl overdose. And her DWI cases, she had 2 of them, were drugged driving. So that is what I'm dealing with, commissioners. And it would mean the world to me and these people in the program to continue to work. I'm happy to answer any questions. Sorry, I'm having an allergy attack today. The dust in the air is very hard. But I'm happy to tell you anything else you would like. We have about a 70% success rate. We've had 195 to 198 participants with a 70% graduation and success rate. We've only had about 8 absconders and I believe 10 revocations. So we're doing pretty good work.
What is the price tag on this program?
The price tag to the participants is $0.
No, to that you're asking for funding for. How much money are you looking for?
Sure.
So our request is $82,000. That funds the officer. The probation department will still fund the treatment and drug and all the other costs. This is just the salary to provide the staff member.
Salary and benefits?
Salary and benefits.
So let us, if we could just have a discussion with the court. I don't believe that there's anybody that disagrees with the program. Okay, so, but this is a post-adjudication issue. And probation officers that work post-adjudication are supposed to be funded by the state. Pre-adjudication, we are going to be funding $3.7 million into CSCD for pre-adjudication, the pretrial aspects. But this is, once again, what we've seen, where that the state doesn't uphold what they're supposed to be paying. Then it falls back on the county to pick up the state's cost. That's why we initially said we're not going to automatically recommend this because if it starts here, where does it go? Now, I know that Helen has been working on some additional funding for this. That Helen, you want to talk a little bit about that?
So we actually have a DWI fund that fees are put over there specifically on cases that are DWI or drug cases. And with some working to make funds available for 1 year, that is all that can support it, because the fees are down. And after that, I don't have funding for it again. I did not recommend it be in the general fund for exactly what Mr. Mania said, that it is a post-adjudication position, which is funded by CSCD.
So what you're saying is you've got money for 1 year?
1 year only.
So we can push the problem down the line for a year.
And not in the general fund. This is over on the budget, so we will be presenting to you at the end of September.
The special
purpose.
Yes.
Okay.
You okay with that?
We would be happy with getting funding for another year. Yes, sir.
I do have a question, Helen, and maybe I misheard you in your summarization, Leighton, but did you say that the position was previously cared for by care stallers?
No.
Oh, okay.
Not this position.
I was able to pick it up in my state budget this past year because of the help that the county gave us with some care stallers.
Okay, I see.
Yes.
So
But that
okay,
money
very
is.
good. Okay, very good.
The state's malfeasance in regard to this position does not make it any less critical to this community. I've got a great deal of sympathy for those struggling with addictions of all types. And I think that for the health and safety of those individuals and for the health and safety of our community at large, we cannot afford to cavalierly walk away from this opportunity to reclaim those who are subject to alcohol and drug addictions. I understand this, our continuing problem with the state and their ongoing shifting of costs from the state to local government. But we can stand up to them in this instance and cut off our noses to spite our faces. I would not like to see us do that here. Or perhaps there's someplace else that we can draw that line. But I don't think this is the proper place to draw that line.
Thank you, Commissioner.
So the bottom line would be just to be able to fund this. It then turns into what funding source do we use? And what Helen was saying was that we don't want to use the general revenue fund. We would rather use the special or the special funds. And if that's the court's desire, then that's what we'll do. We just need to bring it up now because
we've got a year to figure this thing out. But I want to serve notice that at the end of the year, if we have not figured it out, I'm not prepared to just sit here and let it go away.
Well, and then is that something that we can be working on now, even after we move forward with this, is to figure out, and I don't know if it was previously a grant-funded position, but it was through the state. Is there another granting entity that perhaps could fund it?
Yes, it was previously a state grant through the governor's office and was not renewed. And then we have used some special purpose funding for a couple of go-arounds. And so we will look for every opportunity we can find to keep the position funded after this year.
We will continue to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
So we're leaving this, I think I would like a motion that says we would like to, I guess we'll see it in the specialized budget, so at this point in time, there's no reason to take any action on our regular budget.
just to approve the proposed budget as submitted by the budget director, with the understanding that we will fund this in the special budgets.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Russell?
That's with the caveat that we take a look at this during the ensuing year and figure out a way to keep it going.
Russell, that's what I was going to ask you to be sure and do as you're looking through the opportunities, maybe special sessions, as well as anything else from that standpoint. Thank you. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So the next one is juvenile services, and Mr. Medlin has indicated that he is satisfied with his budget as presented.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we're now going to go into civil courts. We have, okay, so on the 17th and the 48th and the 96th and the 141st and the 153rd and the 236th and the 348 and the 352 have all indicated that they are satisfied with their budgets. We have two courts, the 67th and the 342nd, who have not indicated if they were satisfied.
Okay, we had a notification this morning that the 67th and the 233rd, the 67th in this one is satisfied.
So everyone's satisfied?
141st and 342nd, we just did not hear back from.
So if we cancel their budget,
But I
do you
don't
think
think
we'll
there's
hear from
anyone
them?
here in the courtroom from them.
Who are those judges?
It would be, the judges themselves?
Yeah.
So what we're doing, we're recommending that the Commissioners Court approve the budget as submitted by the budget officer as it relates to the civil courts.
So you're saying for all of them, regardless of whether we hear from, okay.
Yes.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 with 1 abstention.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the criminal district courts. And so criminal district court 1, 2, 3, 4, 213th, 297th, the 371st, 372nd, 396th, 432nd, and 485th are satisfied with their budgets. Judge Gallagher is here to talk about the magistrate's court. So we could get a motion concerning those courts that were listed and approve as recommended by the budget director.
Are there any missing?
No, all of the district judges' courts have, through Mr. Schubert, have said that they are satisfied with their budget.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
On the magistrate's courts, Judge Gallagher is here to address the court at this time.
Good afternoon. First of all, before we get started, unrelated deal, I want to thank all of you for your continuing support of the TechShare project. It's my understanding this morning one of the big hurdles was rolled out as far as magistration that will put the TechShare system in compliance with the ongoing litigation in the federal courts that we are monitoring and trying to stay ahead of. And it's because of your continued support of that project, we're still staying ahead of the curve. So thank you very, very much for that. And thanks to the administrator's office. I know it's been an ongoing battle. Okay, I was here when we talked about 485th, and y'all agreed to go to the court, and now I'm here asking for the two magistrates that we talked about at the time that we talked about funding. If you recall, I was seeking two courts. Y'all said, I'll give you one court and two magistrates. And that's what I'm here asking for. It's my understanding there has been some question as to can those magistrates, if created, go specifically to courts and not help magistration. And just to give you an idea of how things have been going this morning down the street, 9 out of 34 pods in the detention center are quarantined, that you can't bring people to court. Okay? I have a case to where this morning that the offer on the case is credit for time served. The guy's willing to take it to get out of jail. He's plead guilty, get out of jail. I can't bring him to court because he's positive. Okay? We are working on ways to try and figure out how we can get this done so that we can keep things moving. Y'all are very much familiar with the jail population. I'm not going to preach to the choir. But we've got to have some flexibility in these times to where if I need a magistrate that can go to a court and a magistrate that can go do magistration, I can be able to do it. And that's all we're asking for. Just give us the flexibility. Don't tie it to specific details. Just trust your judges and let us do our work just as we trust y'all in doing your work. Questions?
So the budget as recommended does not include the 2 magistrate positions.
And your reasoning behind that?
Is it needed to be discussed. They requested 5, and they said that Mr. Sugar said that he needed the additional for magistration, and there was a discussion between whether it was believed that the Commissioner's Court decision would allow them to be able to move their positions back and forth between the magistrate and the actual court assistants.
Commissioner, were you about to say something, or were you just pondering?
I would be inclined to trust the judges.
That's a very big inclination, Commissioner.
It's one that I come to with some trepidation, but the reason that we approved these 2 magistrates was to help out with the court's dockets, since we were not going to ask for a second criminal district court. That made a lot of sense to me at the time. But sometimes flexibility is necessary. As long as y'all understand that there are 2 magistrate positions. There are not going to be any more in this budget.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask Helen if you could go back to where you showed those positions.
Yes.
Okay.
Back over to the new positions, there is a screen up on that shows the cost. It's $151,694.31. That's all benefit. That's including all benefits, and times 2 would be $303,389.
So how many magistrates have? I mean, it seems like we've been adding magistrates like there ain't no tomorrow. So how many magistrates have we added in the last 2-3 years?
I don't know if I can answer that question. I can tell you we have 4 full-time magistrates that support 20 courts. We have 4 full-time magistrates that do magistration, that deal specifically with the jail. We have 4 part-time magistrates that assist with the magistrations in the jail.
Judge, I want to be sure I understand what a magistrate does. And I want to, basically, do y'all have associate judges in the criminal area?
No, sir.
So basically, the civil courts, do they have associate judges? And
the family courts and the juvenile court does. The civil courts do not have
Probates also.
Probates.
Also have associate judges.
Family courts and probate courts have associate judges.
And so in the criminal area, you have magistrates, and can magistrates do most everything that a judge can do?
They can do everything that we assign them to do, with the exception of anything in front of a jury and anything to where there is not a plea agreement, but there is what we call an open plea. There's not a plea agreement. The defendant's pleading guilty and wants the judge to assess the punishment. Only the elected judge can do that. The magistrates cannot. The magistrates can hear probation revocations. The magistrates can pick a jury, okay, but they can't preside over the case. They can set bonds. They can do arraignments. They can do plea agreement. Like right now, I've got a magistrate covering my docket that we're doing right now because I came down here. So that magistrate can do everything that I can do, short of being in front of a jury.
Okay. And how many magistrates total do we have right now?
We have 8. In 2018, we added, in 2018, we added 2, which made it 6. In 2019, we added 2, that brought us up to the 8 that we currently have.
And we are asking for 2 more.
Now, understand those last 4 went to the magistration portion of it when we took over the prisoners coming directly into the county jail. The 4.
Get me started on that one.
I understand, but the four magistrates that are assigned to the courts have been here longer than those last 4.
So besides those 8, we also have 4 part-time, so there's an equivalent of 2 additional magistrate FTEs.
And those 4 part-time are doing magistration duties, the arraignments. And
Correct.
setting of bonds.
Correct. I never see those 4 part-time magistrates. I never see the 4 magistrates that are doing arraignments. or magistration. I always deal with the 4 that are always assigned to the court.
To the 20 courts.
Uh-huh.
So I guess the question is, you're asking for 2 in addition to the 4 you see all the time for magistration of the courts. And you're wanting those to be, for you to be able to assign those wherever you want to assign.
On an as-needed basis, because we're in such a flux right now.
I know, quite honestly, the reason I could come to support that would be, we got to get the backlog through the courts because it's killing our jail.
And we're getting ready to start that August 30th, in case y'all didn't know.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Starting August 30th, all 20 of the courts are working together, and Judge Evans is going to cross-assign misdemeanor judges to felony courts and felony judges to misdemeanor courts. Starting Monday, August 30th, all 20 courts will begin hearing felony cases on what we're calling an inventory docket. We're setting cases, and we've reached agreement with the criminal district attorney's office on how those cases are going to be chosen. But basically, each court is going to have 50 cases in the morning and 50 cases in the afternoon for the next 9 days. We lose Monday, Labor Day, as a holiday. So that would involve 1,800 cases potentially in the felony courts being set for us to start working through to see what cases can be disposed of, what cases cannot be disposed of. We will take a week off to allow the courts to just kind of do what they normally do. The week of the 20th of September, that is a state judicial conference. So most of the judges will be going to that. That is also going to allow Mary Louise to get ready, because when we come back on the 27th, we're doing the same thing with misdemeanor courts, and we're setting misdemeanor cases. And we're having to break the misdemeanors up into two-week sessions. But we are hoping that in basically 6 weeks of working, we can go through and at least put eyes on 6,000 criminal cases, that we can see where we stand with this backlog. And that,
approximately how many criminal cases backlog right now do you have?
I think felonies are over 22,000, and misdemeanors are probably pushing 28 to 29, I would guess. Oh, felonies are at 24? Yeah. So between the two sections, there's probably 50,000.
So are you going to repeat this again until we get through a lot of those?
Well, with felony cases, Judge, you may not be able to dispose of them. Those cases are going to have to be tried. And so the felony courts, after we go through our numbers, the felony judges are going to take a look to see, okay, you've heard it called rocket docket, okay? Well, what that means is, do all the judges want to commit, or do some of the judges want to commit to, okay, it's all hands on deck. We start with the oldest jail case first, call your first jury, and you may have a case that's, let's say the oldest case is in 396th. It may be heard in CDC 1. The next judge comes up, and off we go. Here we go. But We tried a case 2 weeks ago, and this week in CDC1, one of the jurors tested positive. We had a case in Judge Burgess's civil court. One of the jurors tested positive. I mean, this is after they're chosen. So
what do you have to do in that situation?
You have to shut down, and you got to suspend the trial, and you got to notify all the jurors that you had one of your colleagues that has tested positive. We're going to shut down to see what happens, and then if they want to come back in, okay, fine. We had a grand jury. One of our grand jury foremen tested positive, but the grand jury said we want to keep coming in.
Judge, do you have plexiglass partitions between jurors?
Between jurors? Yes. No, sir. No, sir. That would be basically physically impossible, Commissioner, unless you put them out into the courtroom, and that involves losing a lot of space. A lot of space.
Plexiglass is like a quarter of an inch thick.
We've got the plexiglass in the courtrooms, but not separating the jurors.
You got to build something to hold it.
And then, okay, when they come out of the courtroom and they walk out into the community to go to lunch.
Well, we can't protect them in every situation, but we can protect them while they're serving as jurors.
Well, and the judges, we are very cognizant of what are trying to be. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just waiting.
When we tried to try a couple of cases during the pandemic, the full-blown pandemic, you could seat the jurors in the gallery of the courtroom and have social distancing. But when you do that, you got to lock the door to the courtroom because your jury is sitting out where the public sits. Okay? Then when they go to deliberate, you can't put them in the jury room. You got to put them in another courtroom that can be locked to where they can deliberate and follow the social distancing. And then because cases have to be tried in open court, you had to have a third courtroom to do a live feed of the trial. So you were tying up 3 courtrooms to try one case.
What?
Come on down. We get real creative sometimes in some of our thinkings.
When you're doing all of this in the coming weeks, what are the magistrates doing during that? Can they not also? I mean, we just talked about they could hear a lot of stuff. So are they being involved?
We don't have the positions in judicial in the sheriff's office.
Say what now?
We don't have enough positions in the sheriff's office to provide the support for the magistrates if we wanted to do dockets in there. You need 3 bailiffs. The sheriff doesn't have the positions. If somebody said, let's get visiting judge money, Judge Evans and I have been talking about it. Get it from the state, get it from COVID. We don't have court reporters. We don't have bailiffs. We don't have the support staff to go forward with that kind of stuff.
So okay, that explains that. So I'm very intrigued by what y'all are going to be doing over the next couple of months. And while we said you can't, not everything's ready to try, if y'all can get through the 6 or whatever thousand, and we got 50,000 plus sitting someplace, are you going to do that a couple of more times at least so that we got to get all hands on deck and try to clear these people out of jail.
We have had fabulous support for this concept amongst all the departments, between district clerk, county clerk, sheriff, Criminal District Attorney's Office, Defense Bar. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. We're just going to have to take a look and see how successful it gets. But you've got some cases, Judge, that just have to be tried. You know, that's the bottom line. They just have to be tried. But if we could get 33% disposition on 50,000, that's a good start.
Oh, yeah?
That's a real good start.
Okay.
Okay.
So this morning, over half of the inmates in our county jail were felonies waiting to be tried. And that number, and you all see that report every morning. That's the 5 o'clock report. And anything that Judge Gallagher and your team are doing down there to diminish that, because we're at 86% population. And the sheriff is working his people 6 days a week, at least 8 hours a day, and we're trying to fill those positions, and we've already heard all that. So anything that you can do to help us drop that jail count would be excellent.
The quarantine pod is what's killing us right now. I mean,
Can we not do a video?
You can, but then what happens is you have to set that up through the sheriff, and you come back 2 days later, or 1 day later, or something. You can't just do it immediately, because you have to give the sheriff the notice to where, like, our bailiffs have to, if it's in the correction center, our bailiff has to go get them and bring them down to the video room. Out at Green Bay, they'll go get them. But Green Bay right now is a petri dish full of infections, and it's very tough. So, in other words, if I had a defendant who was not quarantined and came to court today, and the DA and the defense lawyer worked out a deal, we would do the plea today. If they're quarantined, it gets delayed a day or two, and that's just fluidity. If we could get some help. There has been thoughts of having magistrates do those video pleas. In other words, you come in on a Monday when we're doing these inventory documents and you reach an agreement, the guy's quarantined. Okay, we set it up for a plea the next day. The magistrates can do that, okay? But we don't have the support personnel.
Thank you for all your good news today.
Just trying to help. No, thank y'all very much.
Even if we were able to successfully adjudicate these persons who are under quarantine, how do we safely release them into the community when they are positive with COVID?
That's where the sheriff gets involved, Commissioner.
So remember that quarantine and actually testing positive are two different issues. We quarantine our inmates when they come in so that if they do have the virus, that they don't spread the virus. So that there's a distinction to be made between those two issues.
I don't think that's an answer to my question, Mr. Mania.
Personal responsibility.
Oh, hell.
Thank you, Governor Abbott.
Thank you all very much.
Sharon? Come up.
I just need to advise the court that we're happy to hear the plan, and I think I have an email from someone, maybe one of the coordinators, that was forwarded to me, so we're glad that the plan, it has been ever-changing, so I get it now. My concern, and I want you all to recognize, that when we call hundreds of cases into a courtroom with a limited number of prosecutors and defense attorneys, that it's not necessarily going to be, we still have to talk, right? The lawyers have to talk. That is the nature of criminal justice. So just because hundreds of cases are getting set, I want to tamp down the expectation that all of a sudden they're all going to get moved. Our office has been calling attorneys with offers this entire time. We have hardly any cases at all where a lawyer has not been made an offer on their client. So we'll be there, we'll be participating, but I just want y'all to understand the rest of that story. Okay? All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're still on the two magistrates.
That's correct.
So what is the feeling of the court?
Move approval of the two magistrates with flexibility.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to grant the two magistrates with flexibility. So that means you have 6 with flexibility? Or does that mean you have 2 with flexibility and the other 10 or so are specifically restricted?
All of them are, in my opinion, are flexible. In other words, if they all have, So
these were the only 2 that there might have been a restriction on, and you're just asking that we go ahead and put the 2 in and make them flexible?
Correct.
Okay, that's the motion that we have right now. Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we're now going to the family courts. I believe that the family courts 231, 233, 322nd, and 324th have agreed to the budgets. The ones that I show that we have not heard from is the 322nd, I'm sorry, the 323rd, the 325th, and the 360th.
The 325th we have, it's the 324th we've not heard from.
Okay, so we have approved, we still need to consider, help me.
Who are those 2 judges? Or 3, depending on how many you come up with?
Judge Kim.
Who? Judge Kim.
And Judge Bennett, Baca Bennett. I can't remember who the 324th is.
That's Judith Wells.
Judith
isn't it?
Wells. And I know that she's okay with it. I spoke to them this morning.
Okay, so it's Judge Kim and Judge Bennett who we've not heard from.
And Judge Kim did call and have a conversation about an additional court coordinator. And I talked to Judge Wells' court today about the auxiliary court coordinator that is in the family courts, but it is one that is specifically for downtown. He has 2 court coordinators, 3 judges. But a large portion of his CPS cases were brought to downtown.
Right.
And one of those court coordinators came with them to offset the 2 courts that are hearing the CPS court cases, excuse me.
Anyone here from Judge Kim's court? Okay, the other one was Judge Bennett.
Judge Bennett.
Staff is recommending that the court approve the budgets for the family courts as submitted by the budget director.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes 401. Special judges.
Satisfied?
They're satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Criminal court support.
Grand jury. Oh, I'm sorry. Criminal court administration?
No.
It's all of those.
So they're all satisfied?
Yes, sir.
So we're requesting that the court approve criminal court administration, grand jury, criminal attorney appointment, and criminal mental health courts.
Move approval of all of the above.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. When do we want to break for lunch?
At your convenience.
Everybody ready?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. We'll start back at, if it's here, is everybody okay? Can we start back in maybe 30 minutes or as opposed to going an hour?
Sure. We can try it.
Try it if we don't. We won't.
Let me see what Commissioner Allen is real quick.
right.
Yeah.
Did they pay $20?
Very good.
It's the federal government. They gotta pay me 40. Amen.
Jackson. Give me a Jackson.
She's coming.
Yeah, we're getting it put in a bunch of different historical libraries and stuff, making it around.
Okay, let us continue.
Okay, so we are now going to go to the county courts of law. And we have not heard from County Court of Law number 2, but County Court 1 and 3 are satisfied with their budget. Is there anyone in the audience from County Court of Law number 2?
Move approval.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so now we're going to go to county criminal courts, and each of the 10 county criminal courts are satisfied with their budget as presented by the budget officer.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
We now have probate courts. We've heard from probate 2. They're satisfied. Is there anyone?
They're both satisfied.
So they're both satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So we're now going to go to JP's, and just a quick note, Judge Swearingen was here to present his comments to the court. He had a 1 o'clock hearing, and I told him that as soon as this hearing was over, if he'll come back and you would hear his comments. But besides Precinct 1, Precinct 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 are satisfied. Judge Gregory is here. He is on Precinct 4. So we could get a motion on 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Judge Gregory?
Good morning.
Morning.
Or afternoon.
Yes, sir. County Judge, Commissioners, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today. It's not that I'm not satisfied with my budget. I just want you to consider something or reconsider something for me. You have been provided a printout of a PowerPoint that I have for you. All I ask is that you just give me a consideration on this clerk position that I'm asking for. I want to give you the mission statement of the Justice Court number 4. As a place where justice starts, it is a mission of the Justice of the Peace Court number 4 to serve the people of Tarrant County by efficient and accessible administration of justice for all persons, and to treat all litigants with integrity, fairness, and respect. Justice of the Peace are charged with the responsibility of faithfully and impartially discharging the duties required by law. This court responds to the actions and needs of the Constable's Office, the Sheriff's Office, Department of Public Safety, the Tarrant Regional Water District, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, as well as 11 municipal police agencies within this precinct and the citizens. Now on the second page and the third page, I've listed a lot of accomplishments that the Justice Court has made since I've been in office. But the one thing I want to draw your attention to on the second page is at the bottom where it talks about 2,700 active civil cases. When I took office, there was 2,700 active civil cases in backlog when I took office. Now on the third page, you will see at the top third one, after we did an audit, there was 6,000 criminal cases that were in backlog. As far as the civil cases, we were within 4 months able to adjudicate all those cases and get our backlog caught up. The criminal cases took us roughly about a year to get those criminal cases caught up, and it went all the way back to 1993 on some of them cases. As you see, there's some more accomplishments. On the fourth page, I talked about some of the stuff that we're implementing. We are implementing everything going to digital record as far as at the record center. They're working on that. Plus, we have several other ones at the Justice Court, which is going to be Judges Edition and some revamping of our processes and stuff. On the fifth page, I have for you, which is going to be our stats reports for 2016. I want to draw your attention to the bottom right, where on 2016 we had a 1% increase over 2015, which is basically 61 cases that we had added to the court. Now, please understand this was before I took office. So on 2017, total overall, we had a 13% increase, which was about 1,005 cases added to the court. And that was over 2016. 2018, we had a 19% increase at the court, which was an extra 1,621 cases added to the court docket. Okay. On 2019, this was right before the coronavirus and all that started, we did have a 1% decrease, which was basically 76 cases. So what I want to draw your attention to from between 2016 and 2019, the Justice Peace Court number 4 docket case increased 35%. 2015 was a 7,400 caseload, and when we stopped in 2019, we were adjudicating 10,069 cases. Now, on 2020, I call this the unicorn year because no one could have predicted what happened. We did end with a 39% decrease in that year. I do want to draw your attention to, in that year, the Justice Court jurisdictional limit was increased to 20,000. Okay? Now, with that, if I would like to draw your attention to the highlighted areas, with COVID happening and with the increase of the jurisdictional limit of the court to 20,000, you will see some of these increases on here. We still had, and you will see e-file was a new system that we implemented to where cases can be filed online. You will see some of them in here that there's a 169% increase, 407% increase, and 330% increase. But that was e-file cases over last year. On a norm, if you look at evictions that were filed, we had roughly about a 40% decrease for that year. And debt claims ended to be about a 89% increase, even over last year of 2019. Now, I do want you to understand, because I want to provide you with all the numbers and stuff. So we did end the year of 2020 with a 3,904 case decrease. Now, to draw you to 2021 and where we're sitting, and I please want you to understand that the evictions haven't even been opened up yet. We're still under a moratorium. So with the 2021, we are at a 21% increase overall for the court. If you look up at the civil totals up above where the top circle, red circle is, the civil process of the side of the court is at a 32% increase. Now I want you to look, if you could, at the handgun licensings. We're at 150% increase. Property hearings were at 100% increase. Orders of retrievals are at a 50% increase. Small claims, 130% increase. Debt claims, 55% increase. Now, I do want you to look at the evictions. It does say 153% increase, but once again, that's the e-file part. If you look down to where the evictions is on right below the highlighted area, it's a -5. So roughly, we are having an increase over last year at about a 50% as far as evictions being filed. Now, at this point right now, over last year, we're at 730 plus cases at this point. Okay? So if you'll go to the next page, once again, it will show you there was since 2015, there's a 2,611 case increase from 2015 until now. Or, I'm sorry, that ends in 2019. I did not include 2020.
What page are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, where it says case filing increase, right here, sir, where the bar graph is.
Start at the back. That's easier.
So from 2016 to 2019, we had a 2,611 case increase. Once again, that's a 35% increase from 2015. I didn't include 2020's drop because, once again, 2020 is a unicorn. So it's not one that we're going to be able to accurately predict. Now, if you go to the next page, it says pending cases on the docket. 2019, we have one pending case, and that is because it's set in district court right now with another pending case. So we've allowed this case to live on, basically. I have a philosophy in my court. Once you file your case, you better be ready to go to trial. Since the date of filing, you have 1 year to adjudicate your case. If you haven't adjudicated your case in 1 year, then we move on, okay? As far as small claims, I try to get small claims cases adjudicated within 3 to 6 months. It's called justice speedily, and it's about running a court docket. If you look on this pending case docket, it shows 4, actually, I don't know, it didn't print out. Oh, it does at the bottom. It says jury trials. I have 4 jury trial cases left over from 2020. We were able to start having jury trials again in the mid-May with my court docket. I have scheduled jury trials every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in my court since we've been able to start having jury trials. And that is to get through the backlog of jury trial cases that we had while we were shut down and weren't able to have jury trials. If you look at the very top, I'm trying to see, it didn't really print it on there. That's 1,388 cases that are pending in 2021 still. So we're constantly, as cases are filed, we're constantly adjudicating cases through there. On the very last page, and I'll have to tell you, I have to make some corrections on it. Talked with Helen this morning, and I did make one error. It's not going to be 2006, it's going to be 2008. And it's not going to be 14 years, it's going to be 12 years. So since 2008 to 2020, we've had 6 authorized clerk positions, 1 office manager, and 1 judge. We have not had a position added to this court in 12 years. I believe with our 35% increase over since 2015, I believe that we have the ability and have the need to add cases or add a clerk to this court. If you'll look on the very last page, money returned to the county. I'm a conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I believe it's my job as an elected official to run my court very judiciously and without cost to the citizens. 2009, I returned to the county $8,827.23 out of my budget. In 2020, I returned $17,949.68. 2021, this is not in your printout. I'm sorry I ended there. In 2021, and pulling my roll-up budget report, I am probably, and I say probably, barring anything happening, going to return over $20,000 back to the court, back to the county, and money that I have not spent. A lot of that is some of it's due to education because we weren't able to go out and do our education, or we did a lot of it online. So it wasn't a cost to the county for clerks to stay in hotels and riding there and all that stuff and having to do per diem. So that's going to be a lot of the savings there. If you will look at the visiting judges, I've only used half my time just because, I think it's time for me to work. I think it's really time for me to work during this period. If you go up and look at the supplies, my supply budget and postage, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have it. I apologize. My postage, I have basically $8,300 left that I have not spent yet. Now, I will spend some more of that. And then my supply budget, I have $5,400 left that I haven't spent yet, and I will spend a little bit more of that before, but we only have 2 months left in this budget year. So my plan is to return over $20,000 back to the county. Now, Precinct 4 is probably one of the biggest growing sections of Tarrant County right now. We have roughly about 30 different home sites going up. Some of those home sites have 5,000 plus homes planning on being built in them. One of those is going to be the Bonds Ranch Edition. It's going to be up by Bonds Ranch. They're planning on 5,000 plus homes to be in that edition. We have roughly about 25 to 30 other different home sites that are being built. Something you might not know is the Justice Court, and you might know it, the Justice Court fees are going to be increased as of September 1st. That was passed through the legislature this year. So our fees are going to go from $46 to $75, if I believe I'm calculating that correctly, for a case to be filed. Something that was passed in the Senate bill, or in the legislature too, is that Senate Bill number 1588 passed starting September 1st. They have moved most of the HOA lawsuits to the Justice Court. So they're going to be adjudicated through the Justice Court, so that's going to be an increase in our docket. Plus, they also made it quite a bit easier for a homeowner to sue the HOA.
What was that bill reference number again? Senate Bill what?
Senate Bill 1588.
Thank you.
So I will tell you that on an average, if we ran 10,000 cases through the court at $46, it roughly calculates to $460,000 that the court makes just in court fees for 10,000 cases. At $75, of course, it's $750,000 that it adds to the budget. To the
Chris, did the state give the counties all that money? They're not keeping some?
From my understanding, they still have the different split fees, like the Justice Court fee where it goes for technology and stuff like that, and there is some fees that are still in there, but most of it was just the increase of the fee itself. I don't have all the breakdown of what that was. If I'd have thought I would have brought that.
I can't imagine the legislature increasing a fee and them not taking a bite of it. So.
They probably did. I'm not going to lie to you. They probably did. But that figure of what they took a bite of, I'm not going to be able to tell you. Now, I will tell you that we got a new system, a phone system in that I've been working on. Our average phone calls coming into our court for the past 3 months have been 1,153 phone calls. The average call time that a clerk is on the phone is 3 minutes. I have drilled down, simplified, and judiciously made as much as I can and squeezed out of this court that I'm going to be able to. What I'm asking for is just to consider the clerk position. That's all I'm asking. I'm not going to jump up and down and be upset if you don't. I would ask that you consider it and think about it, because I believe the need's going to be there, especially with it being expanding as much as it has. Other than that, as far as my presentation, I really don't have anything else. I did, and I will tell you, I printed off our statistical reports from 2006 to now. So if you want to ask me how many cases we've done from 2006, I got it for you.
I want to ask you how your current 6 clerks compares to the number of clerks in the other 7 JP courts.
So, thanks to Helen, she gave me that sheet of paper this morning. Excellent. Justice Court 1 has 7 clerks. JP 2 has 6 clerks. JP 3 has 7 clerks. They got an extra one in 2020.
Let me pause for a second.
Yes, sir.
Because we're seeing numbers. So in addition to the clerks, like, for example, right now you have 9 and you're asking for 1 more. And so that's, just a second, one of them's you. One of them's is it a chief clerk, and then 7 clerks?
I have 6 clerks, so there's 8 only for us right now.
Well,
My glasses on so I can see.
right now you have, according to this, Precinct 4 JP, you have 9 employees and you're asking for another one.
I think that's including the new one. Hold on.
Yes, sir. If you're looking at the budget form, that is asking, that is,
It's including the one that's being requested.
yes, sir. I currently only have 8 allocated positions, including myself.
Well, no, that's
Well, no, it says 9.
no, that's not.
Yeah, that's just 9.
That's not what our numbers are showing.
And there's 3 judges. You would be, along with precinct 3 and precinct 1, to have 9. Everybody else has fewer. 8, 7, 6.
Well, if you're looking at the recommended budget, is that what you're looking at?
Yep.
Okay. So I asked about that, and we contacted, I can't remember, I'd have to ask Emily who it was in your office. Okay.
And I looked it up, and we found the 6 on the NSAP.
Right. So I only have 6 clerks, 1 manager, and myself. So there's only 8. There's not 9 of us.
That's correct. He is correct. I do not know why it says it.
Helen, in the count of employees for all the judges, are the judges included in that?
It's included in your book. It's not included on the sheet that I just handed out. I took the court manager, and the judge out.
So like for the 2021 column, if we wanted to get the total, just add 1, then that'll include the judges for
Yes.
each court. Okay.
If you add 1, that's the court manager, and then if you had 2, that would be the court manager and the judge.
Okay.
So every one of these totals add 2.
No, I can't believe that we have a mistake here.
Man.
Hard to believe.
Oh, well.
So just for me to be clear, precinct 1 has currently 9 people and they're asking for 1 more.
That is clear, yes. If you look at the sheet.
JP 2 is at 8. So they
And they did
request-
ask for 1.
And you
but
didn't give it to them.
We did not recommend it, and they are satisfied with their budget.
Okay. Precinct 3 has 9 right now, and they're not asking for any more. Precinct 4 has 8, and they're asking for 1. Precinct 5 has 6.
Yes.
Why are they so much lower than the others?
Historically, they have not had, I don't know if their
Case volume.
spaces, just who they have jurisdiction over is smaller, but I do know that they've historically had much smaller
It's a workload issue.
Yeah, his case volume is a lot less than some of the other courts.
I don't think his facility has got any room.
Precinct 6 has 8.
Precinct 6 also asked for a position. I
you
did not
also said
recommend
no.
it, and they're satisfied with their budget.
And precinct 7 has 9. And precinct 8 has 8.
Correct.
Okay, now, a couple of things in, first off, I don't know that we will do redistricting currently, certainly not in the immediate future because there's not required to. And when we redistrict JPs, it's not based upon population, it's based upon volume. So if we felt like we were going to look at this, then, and if you feel like that it's needed because of volume, and I'm not sure I agree with that yet, then, I would suggest that we wait to add extra staff until maybe we've had a look at moving around the volume that's generating the extra. When I look at revenue, your revenue is below 6 and 7 in the way of fees, and also, I guess, 2. And then in fines, you're way below 5, 6, and 7. Now tell me why that would be the case.
Now, you're talking about fines as far as criminal?
I'm just talking about something that's called fines under the revenue for that, and you're at 50. You're budgeted at 56,000 this year. You're projected at 55, 56. Precinct 5 has 159. 6 has 180. 7 has 139. And I'm assuming that that to some degree has to be volume of cases and not just fines.
Well, I can tell you right now that I consistently rank number 3 or number 4 out of all the JPs as far as case filings. Me and Judge Swearingen, I run statistics all the time, every month, and I usually know what place I'm at in the 8 courts.
Well, and I don't know exactly what fines we're talking about, Laura, or because Judge Swearingen only has 12,000.
That's going to be criminal fines because he does not have a very high criminal load.
Yeah, he doesn't, because he's at 12 and 7 is at 180.
And I will tell you,
or 6, excuse me.
Looking at my report ending in Friday, I am at a 19% down in criminal. Absolutely. Absolutely. Law enforcement is not writing the tickets that they used to write. Now, I can tell you why Judge Charbonnet's up in that, and that's because he has the new Chisholm Trail Parkway. And to be honest with you, state troopers don't care what's going on. They write their tickets. I mean, that's just honest. But that I am down 19% in criminal. Absolutely.
You said that was as of Friday.
Yes, ma'am. That was Friday. But I'm up 32% in civil.
Would that be fees? Because you're down, I mean, you're still below 7, 6, and 2.
Well, I can definitely tell you 2 and 6.
That's where they've got either less people or the same number. I guess it's the same number of people. Now both, I guess the one that's the highest, which is who's number 7?
Judge Sanders?
Judge Sanders.
Yep, Judge Sanders.
He's the highest of all the JPs as far as fees. So, I mean, to me, that's mean they're doing the same level of work with the same number of people that you currently have. So that's why I'm probably not of a mind to want to do that at this point in time. Because I also think that if there is some need to do the redistricting, then we'll do that probably after we get finished with filings and stuff like that this year. When do y'all run again?
2022.
Yeah, and the numbers come out August 12th, so I don't think we can wait that long to have formal discussions about redistricting.
Well, I'm probably not, I mean, it's just one opinion, is I'm probably not of that opinion to redistrict them, since we mainly redistrict them based upon volume of cases. And so it would probably be sometime in 2023 before we might even look at that.
I think there's, on the redistricting for the JPs and constables, that it's based upon a little bit more than just volume.
Well, that seemed to be the main thing we talked about the last time we districted them. But I mean, again, I just, I don't know that I want to. I guess I'd just say I'd like to wait and not add.
Let's wait.
The additional people this time.
Well, I know that Chris has got a very active court down there, and I would support him in his request.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, JD. What was that?
He has a very active court down there in Precinct 4, and I would support his request. looking at the request that a lot of people, some of us have asked for in this budget, I can certainly support that.
I want to be honest with you. If I don't deserve to have this person, I want to give this person back. I don't want to spend citizens, taxpayers' money for no reason. I think I'm going to need it. I honestly do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing up here asking you to just at least reconsider it.
And I understand that, Chris, I really do. I guess what I'm saying is if you think you're going to need it, I'd rather wait until the fact that you say, I gotta have it.
But my problem is with that is it takes 6 months to train a clerk. 6 months. And I know that because I have 4 new clerks. One of the things when I took office is I was advised is I came for a clerk. And I was advised I need to rework the people I have. Well, I've reworked the people I have. I have 4 new clerks. 4 new clerks that I put in this office. Some of them didn't want to believe in my vision. Some of them did. I've had 1 retire. So I have 4 new clerks. I have an awesome team now because I'll explain to you how I did the hiring process. I did it just like I was in the police department. I did a board. It was me, my manager, and 1 clerk, and we went through questions with each applicant. Okay, asking them questions, and in doing that, this was not Judge Gregory's decision. It was a 3-panel person decision: the manager, me, and the other clerk, and we scored everybody. And I'm telling you, it's probably the best process, probably the best idea I actually had, and really, literally wasn't my idea, because we have 4 superstars now that are working.
Is there a chance that these 4 new clerks, as they get more and more experience, are going to be able to do more and more, and you might not need the extra person?
Yes, sir. Yes, but I want to tell you right now, that is the biggest growing precinct in Tarrant County right now. Telling you I have 25 to 30 home sites is not just pulling numbers. I mean, I literally have 25 to 30 home sites going up as far as communities being built in Precinct 4. Commissioner Fickus knows this. Commissioner Johnson knows this. Precinct 4 is the largest growing precinct right now in Tarrant County, in my belief. I haven't gone and pulled any of the other precincts, but
you have all of the Walsh Ranch?
Yes, sir.
So that's all down here?
Yes, sir. That Bonds Ranch addition is going to be a 5,000 plus home site addition. And they're already starting it now. It's Cibolos on Saginaw, Maine. Going out there is the first addition to it, and that has almost 1,000 homes in it. So
what on the new homes? That's the homeowners association suits.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They made it very easy for the person who is a homeowner to sue extremely easy now to sue them. And the only reason why I know this is because I was actually the president of my homeowners association, and as soon as they passed it, I had to step down because I knew I couldn't be a president of an HOA and be adjudicating cases that were being filed in my court. So I stepped down from my homeowners association. So yes, they made it extremely easy.
Well, my preference would be to wait till next year and see the volume as opposed to putting someone on. If you came in and said, here, take this employee back because I don't need them anymore, you'd be the first one that's done that in 24 years.
Well, I have a lot of ethics integrity, sir, so I probably would.
I'm just saying that I'd rather wait until you say you really need it than for you to determine that you want to give somebody back.
Well, once again, I'll trust y'all's decision. I just asked you that y'all reconsider it. That's all I'm up here doing. You know, y'all never go without giving me ability to do stuff. Like I said, a lot of the stuff I innovated on my own as far as different things, like changing out the file room to another conference room. And doing that eliminated, I don't know if y'all really understood how much a file costs to the county and to the citizens of Tarrant County, but it's astronomical. And the fact that a clerk has to touch it every time. The fact that all JP courts aren't paperless and aren't online probably needs to happen pretty soon because it's just a huge amount of savings to the county. And I would even be willing to give more back coming up this next year. But my problem is we don't know how evictions are going to pan out and how these new because understand the $20,000 increase hasn't even hit us yet because everything was shut down in 2020. It hasn't even hit yet. So.
And that's the basis that I made my recommendation. because the jurisdiction going up from 10,000 to 20,000 hasn't really materialized because of COVID. And we have worked with the JPs, excuse me. Candace has gone out to each one of their offices, looked at how they process cases, how they have work a file, paperless file. There was an effort made by the JPs together to determine at what number of cases would we increase a position out there, a clerk out there. We did not come to a consensus because every court is different. Some of the cases have a longer lifespan, some have short, but they have more of the cases. It's still a work in progress, and that truly is the basis of the decision that was made in the budget.
The survey she's talking about, actually, if you went and looked at the numbers, said each court needed 4.5 people.
Well, no, one of them said it would decrease. There was a
Okay.
court that had a decrease.
There was a court that had a decrease.
Which
My
is not
apologies.
accurate. It didn't need a decrease. So it was all over the place. So it wasn't information that we could use to make a decision on when to add a clerk.
And Helen's correct. We get a civil case in, and it counts as one number on our statistics. But I can deal with that case for 2 years afterwards, having to have hearings on it. I'm having a hearing this actually Friday on, if some of y'all will know this, writs of scariest faces, and that's what I call it. And it's a case that's being revived from 2012 because they let the judgment go dormant. So they're trying to collect on the judgment. I have to have a hearing on that with the attorneys. We have to send letters out and notify the defendant, this is what's happening. If you don't want this to happen, show up in court and present your side. So that's from 2012. So these numbers, though they're good, sometimes don't seriously reflect each time we have to deal with a case. Multiple motion hearings. On a car wreck case, I probably have a motion in limine. There's multiple motion hearings I have to have. Luckily, through COVID, we were able to do most of those via Zoom. Now that we're getting back in person, a lot of that happened. But either way, you still have to clear out a section in the docket day to have those hearings. We'll usually have 10 to 15. Writs of, writs of garnishment, have to have a hearing on that. Receiverships. So if you get a judgment and you want to hire Mr. GK, because he's going to go collect on your stuff. He has to know which stuff, he's licensed, and he has to be able to do it. We have to have a hearing on whether we're going to appoint him or not, because he's an officer of the court then. And we have to make sure that what we go over is proper. A lot of them try to do, I'm trying to think of the word, but they actually want to be the judge. And, we do limited receiverships. So there's multiple hearings that you have to have on one case. And there's some that you don't. There's some that you don't.
Just to move this, to try to move this forward, I'm
Not a
going to
problem.
move that we accept the recommendations of the budget officer and see if I can get a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
No.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you all again for your time. I appreciate it.
Okay, so now we lack only,
Judge Swearingen, and he is, I don't know that he's in the courtroom yet. Okay, so let's, if, Your Honor, we could then move to the Criminal District Attorney's Office. And
She is satisfied.
she's satisfied, do you want to?
We're satisfied, thank you very much.
Move approval.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
District Clerk, he says he's satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
County Clerk, they're satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Domestic relations, they're satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Jury services, they are satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Courts judiciary, they are satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Public health, they are satisfied with their budget.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Resource connection, they are satisfied with their budget.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Human services, they are satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Child protective services, they are satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Public assistance, they're satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Texas AgriLife,
Move for
they're
approval.
satisfied.
Oh, sorry. Move for
Second.
approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Veteran services, they are satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Historical Commission and Archives,
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
okay, we are now at the administrative elements of the budget. The first one is the county judges.
And I am satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
County administrator, satisfied.
Good answer, GK. Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
The non-departmental is next. And I,
There's
do we have budget? Oh, sorry. I heard it in my brain.
She beat us down pretty bad this year.
Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now, so non-departmental does have adjustments for the changes that we made on capital, requires an adjustment in the non-departmental. Outside of that, it's satisfied.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
You have Road and Bridge, non-departmental,
Yes.
they're satisfied.
Move
Non-departmental
approval.
Road and Bridge.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Debt service,
Satisfied.
satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
That's what you say. We better pass this one. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
County auditor,
We're good.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Budget risk management.
Satisfied.
You're good, Helen?
Yes, I
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Tax.
Happy with our budget. Thank you, Helen.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Elections, they're satisfied.
Move for approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Information technology, they're satisfied with their budget.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Human resources, they're satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Purchasing, they're satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Facilities, they are satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion's passed unanimously.
And then facilities, the building budget, facilities are satisfied with that also.
Move approval.
Say that again? I missed it.
Didn't we just do facilities?
We have two, we have facilities and then the facilities budget for the buildings.
Yeah. Building budget.
Utilities
Yeah.
and repair and things such as that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion's passed unanimously.
We're now going to go into road and bridge, and the first one is Commissioner Precinct 1.
I am satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Commissioner Precinct 2.
I'm satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Precinct 3.
I'm satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Precinct 4.
I'm satisfied.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Let me ask one question. Is this the department? Do we want to do this, right?
Say this for a minute.
Okay. So we're going to move to Transportation Department, and they're satisfied with their budget.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
There's one adjustment that you want to make on Central Garage.
Central Garage has one adjustment. A half-ton pickup was added.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. How do you have a half-ton pickup?
Half-ton.
Half-ton? I'm fixing to say, I don't figure out how in the hell you have a half-time. Well, that's, we might have some things on there like that, but I just didn't, I was just trying to figure it out.
It's late.
Gotta be.
Did we get a motion and a second on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, then we better vote on it. Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
All right, motion's approved, or the adjustment is approved unanimously.
So, Your Honor, we, as I said earlier when we were in the JPs, Judge Swearingen had wanted to address the court. The deal is that we have this on the agenda for tomorrow also. We'd like to, if he wants to come in and talk to the court about his budget, then we can do that, because that ends the budget hearings. Helen, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So we can adjourn now on this, and then we'll just listen to, or we'll just hear Judge Swearingen tomorrow. If that's okay with you.
Sounds like a winner to me. Anything else for today?
Not at this time.
I do.
Oh.
I do have one thing. Commissioner Fick has pointed out that we made an error in the budget office, but Precinct 4 JP has a double fill position that was authorized because his court manager is retiring. So it actually doesn't count for right now.
So it was just a half.
You go, Helen.
Right?
Let me tell you what, Helen, you have done a fabulous job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Everyone in the budget office.
The budget office.
Well, and I want to say, as Helen just said, it's the budget office, but it's also everybody else. It's the administration, it's audit, it's
HR.
It's HR, it's everyone. And now I know we've still got a couple of weeks where we're going to be hashing in and out of some of this stuff. And but I really appreciate, we take the budget process for granted. When we've had a chance to talk with some of our fellow commissioners and judges around the state, and to hear the amount of time and effort your office, y'all, all of y'all that participate in this, do a tremendous job to try to, again, work together, collaborate together, and bring in recommendations that make it easy for us to do.
And the tax assessor, because of her role now and everything that was Senate Bill 2, there was a team that was put together that did tax calculations, and they did an excellent job.
Well, again, I want to thank everybody for that, as I'm sure, and as the court already has. And so we thank y'all, and with that, we stand adjourned.
Not quite flat.